Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Alki UCC on this Poetry Sunday. It will be a good day to share some poems together. On the cusp of Earth Day, we remember that as people walking in the way of Jesus, that love of creation and care for God's world is a core piece of our identity and faith. At Alki UCC, we've been considering how we might reduce our reliance on plastics and also encourage others to bravely go against the flow of society's standards. And we will engage with this theme in our prayers today, as well as the workshop after worship. Let us breathe in the peace of God, the light of love. We acknowledge that we are on the unceded traditional land of the Coast Salish people. We honor with gratitude the original stewards of this land, the Duwamish tribe, who are still here. We boldly proclaim that this is a place of radical welcome and inclusion, and pray that we would continue to find ways to put action to our seeking of justice. Wherever you are on your spiritual journey, may you find grace and hope here this morning at Alki UCC.
The scripture is a reimagining of Psalm 32, written by Reverend Karen Georgia Thompson, the UCC General Minister and President, in a book called the Living Psalms Book. Happy are the people of God who are connected to the earth and who have repented of the sin of environmental injustices. Happy are those who center Creator and the created, in whose spirit there is no duplicity in caring for the earth. While I kept silence, the earth wasted away, groaning from the weight of polluted skies and unclean waters all day long. Night and day creation groaned, the earth heating up, ice caps melting, sea rising, homes and lives washing away. Then I acknowledged the sins committed against the earth. I did not hide my complicity. I said, I will confess the deforestation of the earth, the extinction of species, the oceans we abused. Let all who are faithful offer prayers for the earth at the time of distress, the rush of mighty waters coming, with the heavy rains devastating the earth, taking away the mountainsides. The earth is a refuge for me, healing me and keeping me from trouble, surrounding me with the glad cries of the birds and the whispers of the trees. I will instruct the masses and teach of the way of creation justice. I will bring wise counsel to defending the earth. Do not be stubborn without understanding of the ways in which untempered use of resources must be curbed with bit and bridle. Else the beauty of the earth will not stay near you. Many are the sufferings of the earth, but steadfast love surrounds those who trust in the Creator and care for all creation. Be glad in the Creator and rejoice for the healing of the earth, O righteous, and shout for joy, all you who seek justice for creation.
At this time, we're going to share some poems. I'd like to ask Reverend Penny to come up first and share a poem, and then Dan after that, and then Julia Chase, and then Joe, and then I'll ask for who's next, because I can't hold too many in my list in my head.
I wrote this poem yesterday, and it's in the spirit of all things bright and beautiful. Sleepy feet stepping out the front door. This is the first morning this spring that I haven't worn a jacket up the hill. Greeted by a canopy of delicate crabapple blossoms. Only yesterday they were tiny buds. How extravagant they are. And the Japanese maple tree has leafed out. When did that happen? Crossing the street, a sign in a window, a future to live for. An older woman walking her small, white, fluffy dog. I hold out my hand, and the dog greets me, full of enthusiasm. And the woman tells me, "You have made a friend." A persistent robin singing his heart out, announcing his presence. In a corner patch next to the alley, the bluebells pushing their way faithfully up through stones and weeds, season after season. My crow companions with their raucous calls, going about their crow business. Cresting the top of the hill and being bathed in sunlight. Thank you for the gift of this day.
So I have a poem here by Mary Oliver, and I'm going to follow it up with 4 jokes. Stay seated. They think I'm kidding. Here's Mary Oliver. When I am among the trees, especially the willows and honey locust, especially the beech, oaks, and pines, they give off such hints of gladness. I would almost say that they save me, and daily. Unfortunately, I am so distant from the hope of myself in which I have goodness and discernment and never hurry through the world, but walk slowly and bow off it. But around me, the trees stir in their leaves and call out, "Stay a while." The light flows from their branches, and they call again. "It's simple," they say, and you too have come into the world to do this, to go easy, to be filled with light, and to shine. Kathy Olson sent me these a while ago, and they're short, and they have to do with nature, specifically fruit. What are twins' favorite fruit? Pears. If I can unfold this thing, here we go. Why did the orange go out with the prune? Because it couldn't find a date. Why was the strawberry sad? It was in a jam. And finally, why do watermelons have fancy weddings? Because they can't elope.
Good morning, everybody. Hi, Zoom people. Well, I took the opportunity to ask Stephen to help me present. How could I resist having backup? So first, I'd like to introduce the book. Last time I did a poem by Reverend Randall Mullins called Jesus at the Open Gate. And now he's in a hospice and still with us and as sharp as ever, and has put his poems in a book, including that one, which is cool. He sent this to Joe and I. So I would like to read. He was our pastor up at Pilgrim UCC 25 years ago, where Joe and I met, by the way. So the first one, his wife Sharon is a dream and has been his wonderful support and wife and lover and caregiver. So this one is called The Roses of Sharon. And because it's about a flower, Stephen and I thought it would be fun to sing together, all of us, first on page 433. In the bulb there is a flower, and we'll just do the first verse. Okay. The Roses of Sharon. She moves them one by one from one vase to another, as if each were a goddess rising out of the water. She says, "You cut the stems diagonally while they are still under water, then take off all the lower leaves. Next, put them in enough water to cover most of the stems. This is how I help them live a long time," Sharon says. And just when later in life sets in and the red petals show a slight wrinkling, she prolongs their capacity to uplift and bless. She pulls the petals into the womb of her hand and thinks of places where she will unleash them in love. Onto the path of a bride and groom, blessing the head of an elder turned 80. Into the grave and onto the remains of a beloved departed cat. Sacred blossoms, blessings without end. Sharon's roses live long. Long live the Roses of Sharon. I'm sure that they're later going to be watching on Zoom. Thank you, Stephen. From the same book, a short one called The Forest. Oops. And my accompanist had the wonderful idea of sharing some forest sounds with us, so we'll have a little intro. Forest Poem. When I want spoken wise counsel from the forest, the trees speak. They speak loud silence. Sitting among them in this large forest, all their kin crowded in and close by, they say everything by saying nothing. I want wisdom and advice for my latest impasse. The trees offer only their stillness, their aliveness, their dying. The death that feeds new life. Before my asking eyes, the young and the old are one in living and dying. The Long Journey Home. You're not done with me yet? I had too much fun when I got to understand I could work with Stephen. A friend of mine named Sura Hart, who couldn't be with us today, but again, hi, I'm sure she'll watch later. She's at a meditation retreat. She lives up the hill, and she's just got a beautiful view of our Pacific Northwest, the waters, the mountains, the clouds. And she got up one morning like Penny and wrote this out. And she sent it to me, and I said, oh, that's so beautiful. Can I use that for the service? And she said, well, I meant to revise it and change it and update it. She said, but sure. So I haven't changed a word. And we'll have some lovely accompaniment in the background. It's called Weather. Each morning, I check the weather app for the short report. Cloudy, clouds in the morning, sun in afternoon, sun all day, rain at times. Weather varies each day, never the same. And whether or not these reports help me plan my day, when to weed or wander, drive to town, walk the dog, I consider the meaning, if there is one, and then take another look out my observatory window or outside on the main deck. In recent days, I see a moving show of clouding shapes of various sizes, shades, velocities. Just now, and already changed significantly from when I started writing these words, I see a continuous, solid, horizontal range of clouds, dark purple to light gray, with a brilliant fringe of sunlight on the crests. Above this main event, I see a company of smaller gray-purple boats afloat, and below, a fish, a rabbit racing with long floppy ears pulled back by the wind, a coyote with one pink-lit ear, a pink-fringed armadillo, pig, variegated caterpillar, each and all changing shape and substance before my eyes as they travel south in the pale blue sky. And below that, in my line of sight, the Olympic Range, familiar horizontal scape of solid-seeming monuments to land and sky, stone gray today, topped with patches of brilliant white snow. But now I have to stop and catch my breath. So much beauty, aliveness, ever newness in this moment and ever changing. Never just this or that, black or white, cloudy or clear, but a seeming infinite palette of possibilities. And within me, too, there is an ever-changing weather. Lately, and just now, a complicated mix. Despair for the world, the wars, the hate, the pointing fingers of blame, the suffering, the countless thousands of children dying and living with terror. Joy for the showering gift of life. This moving picture out of my window, for instance. The wind-blown dance of boughs on the 40-foot cedar just there. The sway of skeletal alders standing tall through all the weathers. And tiny me, rising once again today, upright, walking, breathing, making my way to coffee, and these words tumbling out of what? Or where? What holds all this? Clouds, mountains, wind, trees, and little breathing upright me. What holds all this? War, hate, blame, pain, and suffering. What holds all of this side by side? No, interwoven, because I see now how wars are supported by me with my own little fingers of blame, my allegiances, my funds. What is big enough to hold it all includes all the weathers, the grief and the joy in this one moment, which is, they say, and so it seems to me now, is all the time we have. Thank you, Sora. That's beautiful. And thank you so much, Stephen.
Can you all hear me okay? Okay, this is entitled Songs of Earth. There is a certain cataclysmic beauty in every moment, a certain dreamlike way we have of propelling ourselves about. Rushing wind of tree-light amber carries the wild ponies along the crests of fiery dreams. The seasons mark the weathering of earth in times. Sorry. The seasons mark the weathering of earth in time's embrace as Homo sapiens tentatively walks its surface. Moon glides into the vault of the sky. Frog cadence push up into the still air. Beneath the cloth of darkness. Oblique shadows briefly interrupt the moment. Life stands like a calamity above the birth of spring. A lonely Scotch broom catches the air by the side on the highway. Two billboards disguised by nightfall wait until dawn to capture the eyes of motorists who have forgotten the majesty of trees. The ebb and flow of foliage under time's capitulation comforts the earthbound with its familiarity. The short, gray, tedious light of winter with its long, damp nights and the rain streaking across wet windows, the obscure moon and creeping inevitable cold as it lurches along the ground and permeates the seasoned wood of the house and swells itself into the bones and the space of the room. The idle, hermit-like croaking of a frog who forgot its hibernating ways, the deer who descend from secret habitations to taste the fallen red fruit beneath the apple trees, always with ears funneled to catch the faintest sounds. Life is a chain of light and dark. Brain shapes meaning from escapades of form and shadow. Without night, there is no detail, no delineation of beginning from its end, no respite from the merciless truth. Ice is melting in the river. Time is polishing the rocks, and slowly they diminish themselves so that the wind might release them from the burdens of gravity. Sand releases the desert of its heat, the stark white ice of mountains the towering ice that spirals beneath the breath of intellects, the cold hunger of nations, chasing the empires billowing in their heads, the dance of heat and ice beneath the moon's escape. Humans with their thinking and planning remain solemnly in their shelters as the wind marks its way across the prairie. The cows and cattle graze. The sun finds its way to a hillside where it plummets and ignites the watchful clouds to a final charcoal finish. Humans carry the ghosts of many tongues and the dormant remembrances of the great forest and endless seas. Ancient mother pushes out her firstborn at forest's edge. A young fox looks on with a kind of recognition of the majesty of the event. She caresses her baby and reignites the essence of her race. The engine of life continues. There is a certain cataclysmic beauty in every moment, a certain dreamlike way we have of propelling ourselves about.
I subscribe to an email news service called Morning Brew. And Morning Brew asked its readers to write some haiku to commemorate the, the 13 and 17-year emergence of the cicadas? Cicadas? Cicadas. Okay, cicadas. I've never heard them. And I understand they're quite the cacophony, and I don't know how to pronounce them. Okay, so here are their favorites. So listen closely. Cicadas this month. Where are they all other months? Big bug mystery. Number 2, wake, slumbering broods, mate, frolic, make yourself known. Return to silence. Haiku number 3, if I see one more cicada post on Facebook, grandma's unfriended. Number 4, cicadas emerge, summer's rock band in the trees, their drummers a leaf. And the last one, silly cicadas, visiting whenever, at least bring presents. I thought you'd like those. Okay, so a little more seriously. This is from Joy Harjo. She is an internationally renowned performer, poet, writer of the Muskogee Creek Nation. And this is from Remember. Remember the sky that you were born under. Know each of the stars' stories. Remember the moon, who she is. Remember the sun's birth at dawn. That is the strongest point of time. Remember sundown and the giving away tonight. Remember your birth, how your mother struggled to give you form and breath. You are evidence of her life and her mother's and hers. Remember your father. He is your life also. Remember the earth whose skin you are, red earth, black earth, yellow earth, white earth, brown earth. We are earth. Remember the plants, the trees, animal life, who all have their tribes, their families, their histories too. Talk to them, listen to them. They are alive poems.
One of my teachers, a yoga teacher, this is from a yoga teacher. His name is Tanis-Likkel, and this was published March 17th, and it's poetic in language. All right, so it's more prose. All right. And it's called The Spell of the Shell. convinced that we are separate, as if cast under a spell. We bump around blindly in this lifetime, unable to see beyond our noses. The spell is mesmerizing, hypnotic, and leaves us in a kind of stupor. The Japanese poet Shuho alluded to the totality of the trance in this verse. Cicada shell. Little did I know it was my life. The aim of a yoga practice, and I'll add a Christian community, is to realize that we are not separate, but to know that our language, technology, the air that we breathe, the belief systems we share, and our food are a continuum, a kind of connective tissue that binds us together. Thich Nhat Hanh referred to this connective tissue as interbeing. It is a worldwide web where every cell, every thought, every action is part of its webbing. What are the boundaries of the self? Zen teacher Roshi John Sutherland used to ask. Does your body end at the tip of your toe or the crown of your head? Whatever gave us the idea that we are independent, standing alone entities, once removed from the worldwide web of interbeing? You know, some of our shells are shiny and expensive. Some are metal-clad and armored like Humvees. Others are dainty and adorned in the finest lace. Whatever the facade, we need to break the spell of the shell. It requires a kind of second coming. The first being at birth, when we tore through the egg sac and emerged from the womb. That was the first birth. But the second, through the rigors of practice, and I'll add prayer, our shell cracks open a second time. As our waters break, we are flooded by feelings of sympathy and love. From then on, the dividing lines of war, hatred, condemnation, and abuse crumble. When we wake from the spell of the shell, we realize the big self with a capital S. So spend a bit of time in prayer and meditation, each day chipping away at the rigidity of your shell. When you see through the spell of your shell, you'll know that your true nature is unconfined, as boundless as the body of the Buddha, and as wide as the loving heart of our Christ. Thank you, T.S. Little.
Any other poems? All right, Lowell. Lowell and then Vicki.
Is this on? This was my favorite poem about 80 years ago. So reimagine me as a energetic little preschooler. I never saw a purple cow. I never hoped to see one. Yet I'll tell you anyhow, I'd rather see than be one.
I think we must have gone to the same preschool. Oh, wait, I never went to preschool. Julia's poem talking about weather, I just have to say this as remembering back to the Confer family that used to come to church here, and their daughter Drusy married a gentleman farmer, Steve Hill, and they moved to Enumclaw. Now, what you need to know about the Confer family is they always had a beautiful view. They were on a hill, one hill or another, and they always had a beautiful view of the Sound of the Mountains. And Drusy's comment to me when they moved to Enumclaw, and they had 5 acres, I don't know what to wear in the morning. And those of us who are lucky enough to be able to see out to the west, we don't have to look at the weather report. We know what's coming. And it's quite a treat. I was with the sisters on Thursday, and one of them had this on her calendar on her door. So it's a very short, but it seems like a perfect morning prayer. Dear Mother Earth, who day by day unfolds rich blessings on our way, the fruits and flowers that verdant grow, let them his praise abundant show. Oh, praise God, alleluia. And that's by St. Francis of Assisi.
Right. Anyone else? It's not too late. No sign up required. Brett's got one. All right, come on up.
I'll just start with a short preamble. Earlier this week, I was like, so Sunday, it's just poems about Earth Day? And Pastor Emily looked at me and was like, so I guess you're not going to do a poem then? And then to which I replied, well, I'm really not smart enough. I don't really understand poetry very well. So I thought I'd bring something that's like a little bit more my level. And this is from poetrysoup.com. By Randy Mwali, The Humble Brown Snail. Consider the humble brown snail. He's only a head and a tail. No fingers or toes. Yet, there it goes. Just follow its shiny, bright trail.
I think that closes out our poetry time well. Thank you all so much for sharing such a great variety of poems. That was a joy.